In 1966 and 1967, the Mothman stalked the town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Though sightings ranged across the area, the predominant number of reports occurred in and directly around the McClintock Wildlife Management Area, or as it became known, the TNT. In the years to follow, the TNT has become ground zero for Mothman enthusiasts, paranormal investigators, and even ghost hunters. The bizarre history of this section of the country leads many to ask the question, was the TNT made a part of the Mothman legend in 1966, or did the TNT birth the legend itself?
When you live in a very old place, but when you build your towns on Indian burial grounds, and that's exactly what this area. This was a very sacred place to the Indians. They didn't live here. Indians didn't live anywhere where two rivers came together. It was sacred. They were highly disturbed that we were living on sacred ground. We've had some of the paranormal experts come in and say they have feelings there, or they have feelings even in the TNT area. I don't know about that. I wouldn't want to spend a night out in the TNT area either. So, but that was where the Indian villages were at, was out in that area right there. And then the history of the TNT facilities and all that. The TNT area doesn't hurt the Mothman legend at all. It's a creepy place.
One thing is certain, it's an eerie, forgotten stretch of land. One that even today, so far removed from the 1960s tales of red-eyed monsters, can cause men to leave before the sun sets. Strange activity occasionally takes place in the TNT, with a sighting occurring near one of the igloos as recently as 2009. Other sections of the park are still used as part of the Mothman Festival's annual hayride. The Mothman's existence may have been surprising to locals, but where it decided to first appear probably wasn't. After all, the TNT was a place known for its shadowy, strange history.
The TNT area in the 1960s was basically a desolate wasteland because, after World War II ended, they tore everything down. They disassembled all the buildings and things like that. Surprisingly, even today, it's a lot like it was back in the 60s. I mean, it's a bird sanctuary, a wildlife area. People can go up there and hunt and fish. The ponds were all man-made ponds. During World War II, they bought all this farmland. The government bought it from the local farmers, and then they created an arsenal, a powder keg up there, basically. They disguised everything from the air. The igloos and the bunkers are disguised from the air. If the enemy would have flown over during World War II, if they would have got this far, they would probably just went right over because everything's disguised from the air. But if you go up there today, it's a lot like it was back in the 60s. I mean, a lot of dirt roads and kids go up there, drag race, meet up with their friends and stuff like that. So not a lot has changed.
But what you and I were talking about before, several years ago, we were taping oral histories from some of the older people here. We wanted to get them before they were gone on all the manufacturing history here, and they'd bring in people that worked in the different plants, and they needed volunteers to at least sit there so these men had somebody to talk to, and I thought it was fascinating. I volunteered. We were doing it at the River Museum for archives, historical archives, and the gentlemen were talking about working at that facility, and what I found interesting was they said that the group of men that built that facility went on to build the facility in Tennessee for the for the atomic bomb, and then went on to Area 51 to build that facility as well. But all these were secret facilities, and of course they're not now, none of them are. But at the time, before World War II,
Whether or not the Mothman exists, there's no denying this particular patch of land is the ideal habitat for something unknown to stay that way. Dotted with not just the igloos but abandoned buildings left over from the West Virginia Ordnance Works, there are any number of places to hide. Denny Bellamy has even heard stories of an elaborate network of tunnels that run under the north and south power plants connecting the two buildings. When the area was closed down, the tunnel entrances were simply filled in, but somewhere, deep under the TNT area, they may still exist. Of course, a favorite explanation for the Mothman's existence dates back to the years immediately following the Ordnance Works closure.
And there was talk that late at night, great big tractor trailers pulling tanks would come into the TNT and they would meet someone and they would unlock a gate and pull that tanker into the area. And there were giant sewer lines, large sewer lines that ran from the TNT area all the way to the river. I was told that they believed they dumped toxic waste into those sewers, and then it would run out to the river, which was about 1.5 miles away or so, or a mile. Well, when this Mothman flap was going on around in the area, a lot of people suspected that birds migrating through that area had drank water or something and picked up some kind of chemicals left over from the TNT area, and it caused them to do a genetic mutation, and you got some weird creature that developed because of it. There was that talk.